So yeah, today I'm going to talk about American food and kind of three parts of it, right? There's history, geography, and culture of American food. So first, oh, here we go. Okay, so first I want you to tell me, what is Kyrgyz food? Uh-huh. What else?
It's a super fat food with a lot of meat.
Yeah, so there's a lot of meat, like fresh barbank has meat, samsa has meat, wolf has meat, right?
Borsuk has meat.
It's okay. So why does Kyrgyz food have so much meat?
Because the climate makes us to eat a lot of meat.
Yeah. Right, so climate adds.
It's historical.
Yeah, it's historical. Yeah, so you have all three, right? You have like the geography, the climate, and your culture, nomadic culture, history, right? So Kyrgyz food, there's a reason that it has meats, right? There's reasons behind it. So same with American food. What American food do you know? Yeah. Yeah.
Lasagna, right?
Yeah. Yeah, great. Right, so here I put, how many do we have? So here there's 6 American foods. I picked American foods that I think usually American children love. So these 6 foods are like the favorite foods of every American child. What's this one?
Burger.
Yeah, burger. What about this one?
Hot dog.
Hot dog. What about this one? Can you tell?
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese. Yeah, macaroni and cheese. What about this one?
Cookies.
Cookies. Specifically chocolate chip cookies, you say.
Yeah.
What about this one?
It's a toast.
Yeah, it's a sandwich. It's a specific type of sandwich called a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have peanut butter and jelly. This is like the most common thing to eat at school for your lunch for kids. What about this one? Do you know?
S'mores.
Yeah, it is s'mores. Good job. So s'mores, they have 2 cookies, chocolate and marshmallow. Right, so we're not really going to talk about these foods today, but I just wanted you to start thinking about what is American food. And I thought, okay, these are like the 6 best foods for children in America. So also I think when you ask people what is American food, especially if you ask Americans, a lot of times Americans will say, I don't know, maybe a hamburger, maybe a hot dog, and they'll think, oh, no, Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so you have
Pumpkin
turkey, pumpkin pie, potatoes, corn. So this food is probably the most traditional American food. If you think like, when America first started, what were people eating? They were eating something like this. And if we think, okay, why do we eat this on Thanksgiving? Do you have an idea? Why do we eat this on Thanksgiving?
No
No idea. Okay, that's okay. So this is a very pretty map about farming in America. So when you look, can you tell what this is? It's kind of hard to see. It's okay, it's a turkey. Yeah. This is a turkey, right? But it's like the turkey is a type of bird, right? So this is a turkey. If we think about where did British people first come to America? British people first came here. Right? So the most traditional American food is from this area. Because this is where the first colonists, British colonists, came to America. So they came to an area where there was turkey, where there was pumpkin, where there was corn, potatoes. And so that's why we have that traditional meal for Thanksgiving. It's from this area. All right? So it has to do, right, with culture, with geography, and with our history. Right, so what factors influence the food of a place? I think this is true for everywhere. It's true of Kyrgyzstan, it's true of America. The geography, the history, and the culture. So we're going to start first with geography. So this is the geography and climate of America, right? So this is the temperature, how hot it is, right? So which part is hottest?
South.
Yeah, the south. It's way hotter than the north. And this is a map of rain. How much rain and different types of geography. So food is different from here and here and here and here, all over. You'll have different types of food because of it. And so we can see also, this part of America is kind of like Kyrgyzstan. There's so many mountains. This part is more flat, right? So again, food will be different. What you eat here, traditionally, is going to be different from what you eat here, because you can't grow the same food. Right, so here's our map again, right? Like here, can you tell what this is?
Watermelon.
Yeah, it's a watermelon, right? Do you think, could you grow a watermelon up here? No, right? So someone here might think, okay, traditionally we eat a lot of watermelon, but someone up in maybe New York City, if you ask them, is watermelon a traditional food? Probably they're going to say, no, we don't eat watermelon traditionally. Right, so the watermelon, avocado, more like tropical things. And then here we have more of what you think of as traditional American food. Corn, potatoes, our turkey, pumpkin.
Meat.
Yeah, right? You can see all sorts of different things. Here we have cows down in the south, right? So you eat a lot of beef.
Where there is a whale?
Well, yeah, I don't think, well actually, so Alaska, if you were thinking about like the whole world, Alaska actually is like way up here.
Yeah.
And so this whale actually, the Native Americans, like American Indians, who live at the top of Alaska, actually they do eat whale.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? They live up in the Arctic. Not much grows, right? You can't really farm in the Arctic. So actually they will eat whale.
It was weird because it was
Yeah, it was like really down south. Okay, so other important parts, I picked kind of 3 important things from history that affected American food, I think, the most. So the first one I picked about from history is slavery. Do you know about slavery in America?
Yes.
Yeah, right? Like we had a civil war. The Civil War was about slavery. So in the southern United States, slavery was allowed, it was legal, and in the north it wasn't. And so you had 2 different cultures, right? This culture is a culture of like rich farmers and enslaved people. And this was a culture more of like factories, industrialization. But slavery had a huge impact on food. So still today, currently, right, we don't have slavery, but the food in this part of America is really different from the food here. And a large part is because of slavery. So, one example is we have this meal. This is cornbread, bread made from corn. And this is a type of green, kind of like spinach, but it's called collard greens. And usually you bake it with like bacon or pork, just like little tiny pieces of meat. So this is a meal that came from enslaved people. Right? When you are a slave, you don't have money, right? And you don't really have any like freedom or rights. You can't just go to the store and buy what you want and cook it. And all the good food, like the tasty food, the fatty food, went to the rich people. And so enslaved people, they had to figure out what are you going to eat. And so they took really inexpensive materials. Like corn is very cheap. This plant, the collard greens, very cheap. The little pieces of meat, they would just take the meat that like the rich farmer didn't eat, and they would make a meal out of everything left over. Right? They couldn't have really expensive meals, so they just started making food of everything left over, everything they could find. So in the South, you start to have meals like this, meals that are very inexpensive, meals that are very simple, but also meals that give you a lot of energy. Right? If you're an enslaved person and you have to work all day, you need lots of energy. So you can't just have like porridge or something. You need energy in your meal. So the second moment from history that I wanted to talk about is something called the Great Depression. The Great Depression was an economic crisis in the beginning of the 20th century. And it was an economic crisis that affected all of America, but especially the middle part. The middle part was really affected. And during this crisis, so many families didn't have good didn't have money, they couldn't buy things, they couldn't have agriculture because there was also an agriculture crisis at the same time. And so, almost similar to the enslaved people, they started coming up with meals that gave you lots of energy, but were really cheap. So one example is we have a meal called a casserole. A casserole just means you take everything you can find, and you put it in a pan, and you bake it. So anything that you have. Yeah, so if you have vegetables, if you have meat, if you have cheese, maybe pasta, whatever you have, you just take it all, put it in a pan, and you say, okay, that's my meal. Right, so during an economic crisis, you couldn't choose, like, I want to eat this and not this. During an economic crisis, you say, okay, I have this food, I have to eat it. So they just started making casserole. So still today in America, in the middle part of America, like the middle states, casserole is super common. It's a really popular dish because people learned it from their parents, who learned it from their grandparents, and those grandparents lived during this economic crisis. So still we make this dish. And the last part about history and culture is immigration. Right, in America, you kind of have three groups of people who came to America. The first group is the Native Americans. Right, they were already living in America. You also have the enslaved people, people who didn't choose to come to America but were brought to America to be slaves, and immigrants. Right, so everyone today in America who is like not a Native American and not African American from enslaved populations, they were an immigrant. So this is a map in 1900. It's kind of hard to read, so I can read some of it, of where, in different states, where were immigrants coming from. So this color, this kind of tan, this is from Germany. So you see we have a ton of immigrants from Germany, all this area. This part from Mexico. This part from the UK. Here we have Norway, Sweden, Canada. Right, so, but mostly, you can see we have German immigrants. So when you think about what is a super American food, the hamburger, actually the hamburger came from German immigrants. Right, in Germany, there's a city called Hamburg.
Yeah.
And in Hamburg, they started making this like beef hamburger patty. And when it came to America, the people started adding other things to it. So they took this German meat and they said, oh, what if we add some cheese? What if we add some bread? What if we added tomato? And then in America, it became a hamburger. And it became really popular. But it only came because there were German immigrants. And so even today, still we have many, many immigrants in America. So this is a current map. I think this map is from 2020. All of this is from Mexico, this kind of purple color. And then we have some others. We have like Philippines, Somalia, China, in New York. But most immigrants are from Mexico. And so this also has a large impact on our food today. So in America, it's really popular to eat Mexican food because we have so many immigrants from Mexico. But in America, oftentimes we'll make some small changes. Like we will add more cheese, we will add like sour cream, things that are popular in America. And so we have kind of a mix. We take Mexican food, American food, and mix it together to make kind of our own version of Mexican food.
But is it spicy?
It is spicy, but oftentimes Americans will make it less spicy, which is why Americans love to add cheese and sour cream, things that make it not so spicy. Yeah, so we make small changes so that it's really popular in America. So we have things like burritos, tacos, I think that's nachos, different soups. All of this food is so popular.
Mexican?
Yeah, Mexican food. This is another map, also from 2020, but because the last map, if you remember, all of this was from Mexico, so this map is about kind of the second place. So, not the most populous immigrants, but what is number 2? So, right, we can start to see, okay, Arizona, this is state of Arizona. In the last map it said the number 1 immigrant group is from Mexico. This map shows the number 2 immigrant group is the Philippines. For Texas, the number 1 immigrant group we saw was Mexico. The number 2 is India. So you can start to imagine, okay, Mexican food is really popular. Well, if the second largest immigrant group is from India, we can imagine that Indian food is also really popular. And we do similar things, right? We take Indian food, and maybe we add some things to it, we change it a little bit, and it kind of becomes a combination of Indian food and American food. So one example of this is from California. Right, so this is sushi, right? Do you know about the California roll? Yeah, the California roll, we can imagine, is from California. So sushi is from Japan, but sushi was brought to America by Japanese immigrants. And in America, a bunch of Americans thought like, oh, sushi is kind of strange, I've never had that before, I don't know how I feel about it. And so Japanese immigrants started to change sushi. And they said, okay, people in California, maybe they eat a lot of avocado.
What's it about?
What if we add avocado to sushi? Maybe Californians will like it. So now we have the California roll, which is like a Japanese-American mixture. It's Japanese sushi, but with American ingredients together. And it came from immigrants. Okay, so before we do anything else, actually we have an activity for you to discover where did food come from. Oh, I should put it over there. So this activity, the first page has 20 clues, all about food. The second page has a map with 6 spots on it, and then at the bottom, 6 foods. So you have to read the clues, and then try to match which food goes with which number, based on the clues. So you should work in groups, work together, okay? So, here are pictures of the 6 foods. So, which one is this one, do you think?
It's biscuits and gravy. No,
This-
it's cheese.
This one is biscuits and gravy. So which number is biscuits and gravy?
It's 3 point. Georgia.
Yeah, it's 3. It's 3, biscuits and gravy. What did you learn about biscuits and gravy? What facts?
It's from
Dish made from
Biscuits and gravy is a dish made from lots of great close covers and made with cranberry sauce.
Yes, exactly. What else? Who brought biscuits and gravy to America? Or who made it?
European, right?
This one was not European. This one was
Jewish.
not Jewish. It's the other group. Let's see if I can find the facts. Number 9. Look at number 9. Who brought biscuits and gravy to America?
Slaves.
Yes, enslaved people. Right, biscuits and gravy is a very cheap dish. It's easy to make, but it gives you lots of energy.
Yeah.
Right, it was made by enslaved people, and enslaved people lived in the South mostly.
Yeah.
All right, what about this dish? Which is this one?
It's key lime pie.
Key lime pie. Which number is key lime pie?
It's a 6. Florida.
Florida. Yes, what did you learn about key lime pie?
It was brought to America. Wait. Sorry.
It's okay.
Key lime pie is sweet.
Like in Georgia, a lot of lime. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lime.
Yes, and it's a sweet and sour pie made with lime, and in Florida
brought to
Yes.
America.
Yes, so bagels were brought by Jewish immigrants, and many Jewish immigrants live in New York. So that's how we got bagels. What is this one, do you think?
Cheese curds.
Yes, this one is the cheese curds. Which number is cheese curds?
It's Wisconsin.
Yes, number 4, Wisconsin.
It was brought to America by European people.
Yes.
Yeah, and Wisconsin is the state where the most production of
They produced the cheese,
cheese made. A lot.
most cheese.
Yes, exactly, you're all right. So, cheese curds, European immigrants came. European immigrants knew how to make cheese. They came to America, they started making cheese, and Wisconsin is the state that makes the most cheese. I think even today, currently, Wisconsin has the most cheese. What do you think this one is? So it's a little hard.
It's lobster roll.
This one is the lobster roll, yes. Which number is the lobster roll?
It's
Yeah, it's number 2. It's just up here with all these small states. Number 2. What did you learn about the lobster roll?
it was a cheap food. It was given to prisoners. Until the 20th century.
Yeah, so the lobster roll, lobster used to be really cheap. So it was given to servants, prisoners.
Animals.
Yeah, animals, yeah, exactly, like pigs and stuff. And then people started figuring out that it was tasty and making these breads. Now lobster is really expensive. Yay. But also it was in this area because lobster lives up here, where it's kind of cold in the ocean up north. That's where lobsters live. So we got the lobster roll. Okay, what's the last one? Yeah, beef brisket from Texas.
Barbecue brisket.
Or yeah, barbecue brisket. Made of beef. Yes. What did you learn about barbecue brisket?
German, Czech immigrants.
Yes.
And the way
They know the way
Yes.
how to make a smoked meat.
Yes, so German and Czech immigrants came. They knew how to make smoked meat like this. And in Texas, we have the most cows.
Yeah.
Right, so they started making it with beef brisket. So barbecue brisket is because of cows and because of German and Czech immigrants. Okay, good job, we got them all right. Yay. All right, so that's all. Thank you. Do you have any last questions about food?
I'm hungry.
I'm also hungry now, yes.
What's your favorite?
What's my favorite food? I really like bagels. But I'm from Texas, so my family likes barbecue brisket. Yeah, but I don't really like it. I don't know. I'm a strange person from Texas, I guess.
Where?
Yeah,